If when I bend the knee, my pelvis spills forward like this, I don't really want to go there. That's not a very strong position. So I'm going to adjust my pelvis. If I run into a brick wall there, then it might be better to come up a little bit out of the posture. Welcome to Pose of the Week, and this pose is by request of Elizabeth. She is asking about the warrior poses. So she's kind of interested in all of them, but we're going to start with warrior one. So warrior one, as we know, is basically oriented toward the front of the mat. So we're going to transition from the front, bending into our knees. I'm going to keep my right leg in front, so I'm going to load that leg. I want to attach my foot to my core as I do, and then I'm going to step my left foot back. And then I'm grounding the heel. So you might want to glance back at this point and make sure you're not, one foot right behind the other. You want to be offset a little bit. So it's like your feet are on different tracks. If you had a line down the center of your mat, you'd have a foot on each side of the line. Okay, so now let's talk about what's happening in our feet. Elizabeth was really interested in this. And so I want to talk about a concept which is called monkey feet. So this means where I'm rooting down through my toes, and it's like I'm energizing, either pushing my heel toward the front, or I'm energizing like I'm pulling my toes back. So I'm literally imagining a kind of monkey-like foot wrapped around the limb of a tree or something. You can see how it lifts the arch of my foot, and it ensures that my toes are really active. I'm basically doing the same thing with my back foot. So my back foot is grounded at a slight angle, and we're going to talk about what that angle can be, but I'm also gripping here and lifting the arch of my foot. Okay, so that's going to help me right from my feet, and I'm going to use that energization of my feet and draw that energy into the core. All right, then I'm dropping down. Now you might have to adjust your stance like I just did so that I can actually be at a depth where I can bring this knee into more of a bend. Maybe we're working toward eventually having a parallel femur to the mat. So that would be quite a deep bend in the front knee. But that's going to depend on what happens to my pelvis when I bend the knee more. If when I bend the knee, my pelvis spills forward like this, I don't really want to go there. That's not a very strong position. So I'm going to adjust my pelvis. If I run into a brick wall there, then it might be better to come up a little bit out of the posture. So you might do this with your hands on your hips initially so you can really feel where that pelvis is tilting. But you want to keep it upright as best you can. Draw this front hip back because we're orienting toward the front of the mat. And again, a lot of students get concerned because we use a cue like squaring your hips to the front of the mat. And we don't necessarily want a perfect square to the front of the mat. It's just more the direction of our energization. If we energize in the direction like we're trying to square to the front of the mat, it's going to help us bring this back hip forward. If we let the back hip go back, we're kind of in this no man's land between warrior one and warrior two, and it's just a less active position. If I bring my hip here and orient it more toward the front, now I really have to engage. So I'm engaging my monkey feet, and I'm engaging my hip muscles on the front leg to draw back and into my pelvis. And then I'm engaging into my back leg like I want to dial it outward. Okay, so I don't want my knee or my foot collapsing in. You can see what that would do. I want to actually dial it outward. So that is an energization coming from my hip, but it doesn't mean that I'm moving my body back. It's just an energization, okay? It's an activation. That's what I'm always talking about, activating. One more thing about the back foot and ankle. If you have limited ankle range of motion, this position will be a little bit tough to get into. So you might need to adjust outward. You'll have a little bit more ease at the ankle if you do that. So that's something you can make a slight adjustment. If your foot goes out a little bit more like that, your hip is probably going to go out like that a little bit more. So let's just recap monkey feet. Orient the pelvis so it's not spilling forward too much. Getting it sitting upright as best you can. Turn the legs on. They're both activating externally. My final piece I'll suggest to you is imagine that you could pull up on the pubic bone. pull the pubic bone upward, and this will create more integrity in the front body. And we have a snowblower outside because it's literally -30, and these guys have to do their job, so you hope you can still hear what I'm saying. But that's all I have to say about Warrior 1, okay? Monkey feet, external activation, pull up on the pubic bone, and then step to the front of your mat and try the other side. Thanks for joining me, guys. Bye for now.